It is 3 minutes after 11, and you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where we turn our attention next to one of the strangest stories I have ever read. And it's in what is probably my second favourite newspaper, but the newspaper I turn to first in the mornings when looking for stories to discuss with you. I speak of the Times, and I know it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, but it boasts many of my favourite journalists and does generally really good work. And it's run a story today that I cannot make head nor tail of. And because it's the Times, the so-called paper of record, I think it's more than possible that I'm missing something here. It's very important to do this sometimes. I don't know whether you've noticed, but I present the show in a very different way from how I did 5 or 6 years ago, in that I'm intrigued and drawn to the possibility that I'm wrong about something or that I'm reading something wrong. It makes for a much healthier life, actually, or inner life at least, and hopefully, well, judging by the numbers, it makes for a better radio show as well. So if this story merits front-page treatment and a 2-page spread and an editorial comment from Trevor Phillips, he's still the chairman of the Index on Censorship, and I don't think the story is about censorship, then there has to be quite a strong chance that I've got it wrong, and they've got it right. So, I mean, I'll give you some of the headlines. Universities blacklist harmful literature. Books withdrawn from campus reading lists. Trigger warnings for more than 1,000 texts. And then you read into it, and you find evidence of 2 books being withdrawn from a single module at 2 separate universities. So the books, for example, would still be available in the university libraries, and they would still be taught on other modules, but one book on a creative writing module at the University of Essex has, according to the University of Essex, being replaced because another book did a better job of doing what was needed in that module. This is Colson Whitehead's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Underground Railroad, which was about the smuggling of slaves out of the south of America into the north, where they would, of course, be free. But that it appears quite high up in the story. It's another thing that makes me wonder whether I'm reading this wrong or whether I'm misunderstanding it. It's been removed from a reading list for creative writing students because of its descriptions of abuse, okay? These depictions were seen as essential by the Pulitzer judges, who said the book combined the violence of slavery and the drama of escape in a myth that speaks to contemporary America. The context of the violence doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with slavery and everything to do with the graphic description of the violence, which they felt was not necessary. I mean, literally, a teacher decided, we won't do that book, we'll do this one. And it's front-page news in the Times. And they even get the explanation from the University of Essex for why this was done. And it makes clear, I'll quote you what they said, another book was viewed as better suited to the learning aims. So the people teaching the course decided that a different book would do a better job of what their course was designed to do. I'll say that again because one of us is going mad here, and I don't think it's me. The people teaching the course decided that a different book would do a better job of meeting the aims of the course that they teach than the book that they used last year. And the Times puts it on its front page. Why? I think because you're supposed to be really scared and cross about trigger warnings now. You're supposed to be really furious about them. If I were to say to you, whenever the subject of suicide comes up on the programme, and I always give you the number of the Samaritans, because the subject of suicide, even in a conversation on a radio phone-in programme, could trigger suicidal thoughts in some people. And if those people have suicidal thoughts, then I want to refer them to the Samaritans, because the Samaritans is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to speak to people and help people who are having suicidal thoughts. Its aim is to prevent them from moving beyond ideation. The number you need is 116 123. Is anyone offended by that? Is anyone upset by what I just did? If I were to read you something that was pretty grim and pretty graphic, or perhaps use the word that Shuggy used just before the news there, when he used the colloquial term to describe to illegitimate children, if I was just to give you a quick heads up in advance about that, and say some of the language here is quite fruity. If you're of a delicate disposition, you may want to look away. Or if you've got children in the car, or I'll get on to the most important bit of this conversation shortly. Would you really be upset by that? How can anyone be upset about teachers at Essex University deciding that that book over there is better suited to the course they're teaching than this book over here? And again, the pendulum swings again. I'm thinking I must be missing something here because it's the Times. It's not some stupid, it's not the Spectator. It's not some ludicrous organ dedicated to keeping people who think they're intelligent in a state of permanent apoplexy and fear. They think we're children and try to coddle us, say students. Except that's not what's happened. They found one student who was apparently still a bit resentful about being told to sit down and be quiet during a tutorial. Listen, take it from me. Some students really need to be told to sit down and be quiet during tutorials. I don't think you need a depiction or a diagram of the kind of student that I'm talking about because I used to bloody be one. So, what is this about? What is this about? James Noble, a conservative activist who completed a biochemistry PhD at Sussex in 2019, said restrictions on freedom of speech had become insidious. What? A biochemistry PhD gets quoted in an article about books on literature and creative writing courses being changed by the people running the courses? Very, very strange. At least to me, it's very, very strange. Shall I tell you what I think happened? And then I'll tell you why trigger warnings are really important. I think they submitted hundreds of freedom of information requests because they were really hoping to get evidence of university courses dropping what we would loosely describe as old white writers and replacing them with more modern post-colonial writers. So they might perhaps be dropping Jane Austen and teaching a bit more Chinua Achebe. They might perhaps be dropping a bit of D.H. Lawrence and teaching a bit more Ben Okri. They might be dropping a little bit of Charlotte Bronte, doing a bit more Kazuo Ishiguro. I don't know. But if I'm imagining being in a newspaper office, which was admittedly a long time ago, and I'm trying to work out what the point was, so I said, what are you going to do? What are you working on at the moment, boys, girls, team, people? What are you working on at the moment? Well, we're going to submit freedom of information requests to universities, find out, whether they've changed their reading lists at all, chopped and changed the. Why are you doing that? Who cares? They change all the time, I presume. When I was at university, the people in the year below me were reading different books from the people in the year above me. I got kids doing GCSEs and A-levels. They don't all read the same books. Yeah, but what we're thinking, boss, is might have replaced some of the old white writers with some young black writers. Might go, yeah, you think that would go down well in the culture wars that we invented in order to distract attention from the fact that the people that we've been telling everyone to vote for the last 12 years have turned the entire country into a skip fire? Oh, I see. So you'll contact all these universities, and because they're all so bloody woke, aren't they? They're almost certainly dropping Jane Austen and dropping Charlotte Bronte and dropping Philip Larkin. I bet they don't teach Shakespeare anymore, and old Dickens has got the heave-ho, and they've replaced them with some Asian person I've never heard of. Oh, I like it. Yeah, you do. Take a fortnight off, get those freedom of information, go off diary, get those freedom of information letters in there, and when we've got it all back, we'll splash it, front page, everything. And then no one bothered to check what was in the actual article. They've stuck it on the front page anyway, because when it all came back, all they've got is one book on a creative writing course in Essex being replaced with another book by the people who teach the course because they think the other book is better than the last book. And then they've got Strindberg's play, Miss Julie, which is why I mentioned The Samaritans earlier, because it is very graphic in its discussion of a suicide. That's been dropped from a reading list in Reading. Sussex, even. Not even Reading. I just misread reading. It's a course called Reading Literature at Sussex University. And they've dropped that and replaced it with something else. That's the story. That's it. Now, most of the people on the editorial staff at the Times will be graduates. They will have been to university. Most of them will have done arts or humanities subjects. They must know. Again, the pendulum swings. Maybe it's me that's got this wrong. Maybe this is a really big deal. Maybe I don't understand the insidious nature of trigger warnings. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't know what censorship means because nothing has been censored. Literally nothing has been censored. Even the book that they've dropped at Essex University is available in the library. That's not censorship, Trevor. It's really not censorship. So, I can't do another hour, can we, on what the hell is going on? But, all right, it's 11:13. I'll tell you why trigger warnings are important. And here's the thing that I think, if I'm being generous, This is perhaps the misunderstanding that lies at the heart of this misreporting. Imagine there are 50 kids in a university lecture hall. I'm going to talk briefly and very obliquely about rape now. So obviously that could upset you. It could bring back horrible memories for you. And I want you to know in advance that that's about to happen. You know what that was, don't you? Yeah, that was a trigger warning. Imagine there is a lecture hall with 50 people in it, and you are teaching a book that contains really graphic descriptions of rape. Okay? Now imagine that 2 people in that lecture hall have been violently raped. Are you going to warn them about what's in the book? Or not? That's the question. That's the only question that you need to answer. Let's say there's 500 people in a lecture hall, all doing the same course. And at the beginning of the course, at the beginning of the university year, you run through the reading list, the literature that you will be studying this year. And one of the books contains a very violent and very graphic description of a rape. There are 2 people in your cohort of students who've been raped. Are you going to warn them that the book they're taking home to read may well bring back the most horrible and unbearable memories of things that have happened to them relatively recently, or even decades ago? Because if we know anything from the child sexual abuse scandals that have come to light in recent years, we know that some of these scars never heal. Whether it's the grooming scandals in the north of England, or whether it's the Catholic Church or the Church of England or the children's homes, whatever it may be. Are you going to warn people? So, okay, we're teaching another book. It's got child abuse in it. Are you going to warn people that it's got child abuse in it? Because there are 10 people in the 500 hall who were abused by teachers at their school, or by scoutmasters or swimming teachers or whatever it might be. Are you going to warn them? Because that's a trigger warning. It is concern for people's mental health. It is protection from the haunting memories of disgusting and horrible things that happen to them. It is a quick and innocuous heads up that the door we're about to go through, on the other side of it, we're going to come across things that you might find really hard to deal with. So be aware of what is on the other side of the door. We are not locking the door. We are not papering over the door. We are not ignoring the door. We are not extinguishing the door or censoring the door or removing the door. We are simply warning you that some of the stuff on the other side may give you nightmares and bring back the real nightmare that you have lived through and endured. So what am I supposed to be cross about today? Question number 1, 03456060973. Question number 2, well, obviously there's a permanent question that hangs over every conversation we have on this programme. Whenever I offer up an opinion, there is an unspoken question of, have I got this right? Have I got this horribly wrong? Is this actually a much bigger deal than I realise? 03456060973. Question number 2 is, what is this journalism designed to do? If not make it more likely that people with PTSD are going to be triggered by traumatic memories. What is this journalism designed to do? What is this front page? Universities blacklist harmful literature. Books withdrawn from campus reading lists. Still in the library, though. Trigger warnings for more than 1,000 texts. If you have endured something horrible, you may be reminded of it by what happens on the next page. Just a quick heads up. What am I supposed to be cross about? And what is this journalism designed to do? Quick text from Lee, just to drive home the point I think I've made quite effectively. I've got severe PTSD, James, and if it wasn't for people like you, my mind would be disturbed much more often than it needs to be. Well, down with that sort of thing, Lee, because woke something, cancel culture something. This is just gross, as far as I can tell. So, 3 questions. Have I got this horribly wrong, or have the Times got this horribly wrong? 03456060973. Question number 2. What exactly am I supposed to be cross about? That people I'll never meet are no longer being taught a book I'll never read at a university I'll never attend? I have actually read both of the books involved in this, but it's a pithier way of phrasing the question. And question number 3. What is this journalism designed to do? Hit the numbers now, you will get through. And obviously, I'm 50. So if you're a lot younger than me and trigger warnings have been commonplace in your academic career, in your study, then your contribution is a bit more helpful than mine. You may disagree with me. You may think trigger warnings are ridiculous. But remember, I'm not asking whether they're ridiculous for you. I'm asking whether they're ridiculous for the fellow student over there who has been raped, or who has been a victim of child abuse, or who has been horribly beaten, or who may be reminded of whatever it is that has created their the trauma that has given them post-traumatic stress disorder. So don't ring in and tell me, well, people need to toughen up, I'm all right. And tell me why that person over there doesn't deserve the courtesy of a warning of what might be around the corner, or what might be through that door, or what might be on the next page. Okay? Because unless you've got brilliant answers to these questions, this is really grim. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. Why are they doing it is what interests me the most. Why are they doing it? And what am I supposed to be cross about?